Hello everyone and welcome back to the Harrison Tote Motorsport YouTube channel. Let's get into the 2025 F3 Championship predictions. There's still drivers to get through, so let's just jump straight in with last place. No surprises here. It's Nicola Marinelli, who came third in the GT Open last year. I have zero idea what their championship is. It's GT cars, so it's like those nice like four-wheel drives, cars you might find on the road, then stripped out, put in a roll cage, and go. He's going to have a hard time switching over to open wheelers. He's a new guy in the AAX team. He's 21, a bit older than the other guys. I think he's a shoe-in for that last place position. Above him, I have Roman Belinsky, who came 15th in Freca last year, but I also think he came first in Formula Regional Oceania. Not the most prestigious tournament out there, but it's still a win's a win. So he is in my 29th place. I think he's a fine driver, but I think Roden struggled last year in F3. Roden might struggle this year again in F3. Roman Belinsky is one of the lowest Freca drivers to be promoted up. I think he is actually the lowest to be promoted up, apart from Nicola Lacorta, who's further up in the video. But yeah, I think the combination of inexperience, rough history of results, and bad team puts him down in 29th. Above him we have Javier Sangrea, who came from Europe Cup 3. He got second there. I think the top three from Euro Cup are all being promoted into F3. I think this is kind of like a new series when we actually a lot of new drivers come through, like GB3 in the UK, where it's kind of like a stepping stone for the European drivers to go that isn't Freca or F4, somewhere else where they can show their stuff and find their way to F3 eventually. So yeah, Javier Sangrea, AAX, so second in Euro Cup F3. I think he's not as good as Bruno Delpino, who came Euro Cup third in Euro Cup 3, because he's with the worst team this year. Bruno Delpino is with MP Motorsport, a solid team, solid foundations. AAX haven't been great in F3, and I think Javier is going to be a victim of their kind of results. I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys can do who come from these alternative competitions, like Louis Sharp, like Nicola Lacorta, like Jared Z, like Javier Sangrea. These guys coming from like other series that isn't Freca, and seeing how well they do at kind of translating their skills that they've learned along their way into Formula 3 open wheelers at this level, So I'm looking forward to seeing this season kind of pan out. Above him in 24th, we have Matthias Zagazeta, who is with the Dams team. He came 25th last year, so this is dropping one place, but I think it's just because there's a lot of good drivers coming up from Freca this year. This is, I think, one of the most kind of talented pool of drivers in F3 we've had in quite a while, since the days of like George Russell, Norris, Leclerc. There's a kind of resurgence of young talent at this age group, the 16, 17, 18-year-olds coming through F3 right now. So it's an exciting time to watch F3 if you're thinking of watching it this season. But yeah, Matthias Zagazeta, 25th last year, 26th this year. I think he's going to have an underwhelming season. Above him is Ivan Dominguez, who comes in from Freca after achieving a 10th place result there to the VAR team. Honestly, a lot of these positions, it's anyone's game. It's going to be so tight in F3, which is kind of the appeal of the sport, Like, any of these drivers could actually finish in the top 10, but you never know. It's just our opinions of what we've seen from them in their past and what kind of teams they're with and how we kind of rate their skill set. But yeah, for me, Ivan Dominguez is going to be in 25th. Happy to be proven wrong. Above him, Nikita Bedrin, the first non-rookie of my championship predictions. He came 19th in F3 this year, so I think a downgrade, but only because he's got a worse car. There's a lot of better new drivers are coming through. A lot of the older drivers who are staying in F3 have a time to develop, like the Sten Shawns, like the Charlie Vertzes, These guys who have been there for a year or two, and they're staying for another year. And Nikita Bedrin might just be pushed down the order. Bedrin, another one of those guys who's a bit older, so a bit a bit less on the line than these young guys who are looking to step up early in their career. Above Benjamin is Bruno Del Pino, previously mentioned, third in Eurocup 3, above Nico Bedrin in that 23rd position with MP Motorsport. Yeah, I think this is I'm happy with this. I think Del Pino will see this as a transition year between the kind of Eurocup 3 and the Formula series. So I think he'll be happy with that, especially coming to a new team with NPP Motorsport. Happy with that, yep. But moving on to 22nd, we have Gerard Z with Hightech. He came 7th in GB3 last year, but I think Hightech are going to do things this year. There's some good things, you know. Some of their drivers include like Stenshawn, Dufek, you know, these guys, they've been in F3 before, you know. They can bring their experience and knowledge to the team, and I think they'll help Gerard Z kind of set the tone for, or set like a good example and help him out with the setup at the team. Whereas like AAX and like Rodin and Dams don't have that as much, you know. Because like Dams have Cushion Ho, Lacorta, and Zegazeta. Zegazeta was bad last year, and the other two are rookies. Where Hightech have Stenshawn, who was sold midfield last season and can help the team move forward. Above Gerard Z, we have Nicolas Lacourt, who I mentioned before, obviously came through Freca last season, 21st. The worst place finisher in Freca from that is graduating. He's going into the Dams team. As I mentioned, not a lot of experience in that team, but still, Lacourt is he's a solid driver. He's fine. He's not a world beater. I think he was going to spend at least a year or two more in Formula 3, kind of toning his skills, unless he's a standout season, but I don't see that happening. I think he'll find his way down to the bottom 10, you know, in that 21st place. And then above him, his teammate, Christian Ho, came first in Eurocup 3. I think the year before that he came second in Spanish F4. So he's got some Formula experience, you know. He skipped the Freca route and went down the Eurocup route. That's fine. I think he'll be the team leader this season at Dams. But yeah, I think he could be one that surprises him. I think he's one to kind of keep an eyeball on, you know. Like a driver that might go under the radar, but will have a really good year and might even find himself in that kind of contention for an S2 seat if he has a great year. But I think a lot of the time it's difficult to get an S2 seat if you're unaffiliated with the F1 team. So a lot of these guys who aren't affiliated, which is basically most of these guys, will be looking to get there in F3. I think we saw last year with McLaren picking up a few drivers here and there, like Alex Stan, like Stenshawn, like Brennan Badua. Some of these F1 teams now are looking to invest at this level because they have their drivers for now, they're looking for the drivers of the future, and they're at this F3 level. So these guys in F3 will be looking to prove their skills in whatever team they're in against their teammates to get their F1 affiliation opportunity. The only one that I mentioned so far that has one is Nicolas Lacourt with Alpine, but I don't see that kind of being very fruitful given the kind of depth and breadth of Alpine's reserve driver pool with Paul Aaron, with Colapinto, with Gabriel Mini. It's deep, and Lacourt's probably at the bottom of that list. Above Christian Ho, we have Theo Falnal, who came 9th in Freca, the French guy, with the VAR team. I think this is one of the, I'm not comfortable putting him here, you know, but I feel like, I look at the drivers above him, and I ask myself, is he better than every single one of them? And I'm not sure. I think he could have a really good year, but he could also have a kind of a mediocre year, and that's the kind of gamble we have in these kind of predictions, you know. There's always going to be one driver who does way better than we think. There's also going to be one driver who does way worse than we think. But it's about picking those gems out of the kind of garbage dump, you know. So now I think he's fine in that 19th position, but he can also be higher up, you know. It depends on how well his year goes, obviously. And then another returner is Tassanapol Intafuzovac, who came 24th in F3 last year. I think he was an AAX. He had a rough start season. He's betting into the team as a rookie last season. This season, he's no longer a rookie. He's with a new team. He's not with AAX anymore. He's with Campos. You know, a team who have a bit more pedigree in the junior series, a bit more heritage. and I think he could do well there. And I think 18th is a good building block, 18th to 24th. Maybe he'll spend one more year, try and get an even better result, top 10 maybe. But this year, I don't think it will be his year. I think there's too much talent in the top 10 for me. Even the top 15 is full talent. Above him, in 17th, we have Joshua Dufek, who came 28th in F3 last year. Another one of these guys who, he's not a rookie, so he's probably going to do a little better at the start of the season. And then as the rookies improve, might fall off a little bit. But I think that will see him through, As long as you get 50, 60, 70 points, you're a solid midfield. And that's what I think Joshua Dufek will do at the start of the season, Get points here and there for the first 10 races, as in sprint races and feature races, 2 races in the weekend. And then towards the end of the races, when there's 3-4 races left, it's fine. He's already set, Above him, I have another rookie in Louis Sharp, who finished first in GB3. And this might be a little bit of bias from my New Zealand side coming out, but screw it. He washed GB3 last year. The year before that, he won British F4. He's got a history of winning things. And now he's with a rough team in Roden, and I know that he's responsible for them all his career. Being a New Zealander, being from the country where Roden operate, I think he'll be the best of the bunch, apart from the guy returning, Callum Boysen, who's up towards the top. But if Roden can improve that car, Louis Sharp has a good shot at setting a good precedent for his F3 season, and then maintaining that maybe in the next year, or even if he gets to step up to the Roden team in F2 the year after. So, above him, Charlie Rhodes, aforementioned Trident driver, 22nd in F3 last year. My prediction saying he's going to be 15th this year, so 7 points up. I think he'll take it given the strength of the field this year. But yeah, another one of these drivers who could finish in the top 10, but also could finish bottom 25. It just depends on how well they start the season and their confidence levels going through it, and also the car, the package of the car. Then looking above him, we have Martinez Stenshorn, the McLaren sponsored driver, who I think him and there's another driver in Mary Boyer and also Solov, who are in the same boat, They're young drivers, maybe also Lawrence Van Hoopen as well, can fall into this category. They're very, very good F3 drivers, they're going to be solid midfield every season, and you can bet on that, But I don't see any of those four finishing near the top. I just feel like they don't have that is it the star quality? Is it that the composure? Is it that consistency that maybe they're missing? But but Stenshorn for me, 14th. I know he has the McLaren backing and he's with High Tech, but he's with the two rookies. He's not going to have anyone on his team fighting alongside him, pushing him to be better in the team. So yeah, I'm happy with him putting him 14th. Above him, mentioned before, Solov. I think he's there in his 3rd or 4th year, and given he's only 18, that's insane. He's one of the most experienced drivers in F3, but he's still probably almost one of the youngest. So it's impressive stuff. But he's now left the Alpine Academy and gone to Red Bull, which makes sense. Alpine's getting a lot clustered, but Red Bull's also very clustered in terms of the drivers they have in their academy pool. But I think a change would be good for him. So seeing him go to Red Bull and join Campos, I'm not fussed about. But I think he'll have another mediocre season where he just can't get out of that midfield pack and into the championship pushing territory. Above him, we have Noah Stromsted, recently acquired by the Mercedes Junior Development Driver Program. He finished 6th in Freca last year. I think, he's going to have a solid year, but not a good enough year to challenge the top 10. I think he's going to pick up regular points, nothing more. Ugo Chukwu with Prema is 11th for me. He came 11th in Freca last year as well. The McLaren Junior, I think, from what I've seen of him in GB3, in Freca, in Italian F4, he's not hyped up, I think Freca put a lot of pressure on him, so McLaren put a lot of pressure on him throughout their tenure with the driver. And it might have had its impact, He's been pulled in and out of competitions, left, right and centre, flown in for races, hasn't done well, removed. Put in another series, hasn't done amazingly, removed. He hasn't had the consistent time just to hone his skills. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe McLaren know what they're doing. I'm saying maybe not for for a top end driver in F3 this year. I just want to see him get a full season under his belt in one series where he does well. I think he might get a win here and there on his weekend, but he's still one of the younger drivers. I think he's even younger than Solov, so I'm happy with him sticking around for another couple of series, honing his skills before he moves up to F2 and maybe even eventually F1 if one of the McLaren drivers move on. So yeah, 11th for Ugo Chukwu. Then above him in 10th we have the returning Laurens van Hoopen, who came 15th last year. And I mentioned before, he comes in one of these pool of drivers who are proven F3 drivers, proven midfield F3 drivers, but I just think that the talent coming through from Frecker this year, and that we've seen in the kind of rest of F3, some of these other drivers who are staying for another year, they're a step above, you know. And I can see Laurens van Hoopen getting a couple podiums, but I don't think he'll do anything more than that. In the ART team, above him, Mary Boyer, same kind of vibe, just where it's just like midfield driver, you know. And if this was F1, it'd be happy days. He's a midfield driver, he's fine being there. But it's not F1, it's F3. You need to be really kind of outstanding to get an F2 seat, or you need a lot of money. But they haven't been outstanding. I don't think they'll be outstanding this season when you compare them to these other drivers coming through. Above him was 5th place in Frecker last year, and in 8th place in my championship standings for my predictions is Brando Badua, the McLaren driver. So you kind of have 2 McLaren drivers, Ugo Chukwu, Brando Badua, going head to head. They went head to head of Frecker last year. Brando Badua came out on top, and this year I think he'll come out on top again. You know, he's shown that he can win races as he did in Frecker last year. I think that he'll be used to racing these guys, the other ones who came out of the top end of Frecker last year into F3, but the other guys will have that upper hand, you know, they'll have that confidence of like, oh, this is Brando, I can beat him. And the other guys from F3 will have like, oh, this is a guy from a Frecker, I can beat him. So I think he'll just kind of fall down to like the lower end of the title fight in that top 8. And then we have Alessandro Gusti, who came 4th in Frecker last year. And you might say this is boring, you know, it says 5th and then 4th, you know, but I think it makes sense. I wouldn't mind swapping these drivers and go 7th and 8th for Brando and then Alessandro, but it could be any order in this top 8. But for me, this makes a bit more sense, going Gusti and then Brando Badua. It's just of what I've seen from them in Frecker. And then above them we have Rafael Camara with Trident. And I know he's a good driver, but I think he's gonna miss that kind of end of year experience that these other drivers above him got with the F3 teams that Camara didn't really utilise very well. That kind of James Wharton, Toponen, Gusti, they did. So I can see him kind of slipping down a bit, having a bit of a rust out of the season, becoming strong towards the end. But these other guys who have had kind of a couple races to set in last season will get on the gas straight away. The Whartons, the Toponens, you know. Above him though, in 5th place, I have Callum Voisin with Rodin. And this all depends on how good Rodin are. If Rodin have a good package, Voisin can finish in 5th. If they don't, he can't. Voisin will outperform the car, but he will live up to those expectations. He's like George Russell, you know. Like George Russell will always get what he can out of the car, but not exceed it. You know, he's not like a Verstappen kind of caliber. So I'm happy with Voisin being in 5th. He got 12th in F2 last year. He took the points when they were available, when the package was there to kind of do well. But yeah, I don't think he'll have the kind of package throughout the whole season to push for the championship, but he will for kind of top 5. Then we get into the nitty gritty. We have 2 rookies left, and we have 2 returning drivers left. For me, Tukotoponen, the Ferrari-backed ART driver, is going to finish in 4th place. He finished in 3rd in Frecker last year. I think 4th place is a good enough result to get him up to F2 next season, which I think Ferrari will do. Toponen, I think, has shown throughout his karting days that he's a potential F1 driver. I think Ferrari realise that, and they're going to do everything they can to put him in a position to succeed, which is why they put him with ART, who are a great team, for F3. I don't see him kind of pushing for the top 3, just because of their inexperience. He's still quite a bit younger than the other guys, and there's something that some of the other guys have a bit more aura when it comes to kind of how I see them performing in F3 in the future, you know, just like the vibe I'm getting. Then in 3rd place, we have Noel Leon from Prema. Now, Noel Leon was one of the kind of standout performers last year, doing really well with a bad team. in Formula 3, and he came 10th. And this season, I think he could push higher up. He's with a better team. He's with Kramer. He'll have Brandon Badil. He'll have Ugo Chukwu. Good drivers alongside him that will push him to be better in terms of like raw talent. Like, I can beat these guys. I will beat these guys. He'll push up higher. And second, I have Tim Tramnitz, the Red Bull driver who came 9th last season. He's with MP Motorsport, and I can see him doing well there. You know, he had a good start, also a good end of the season last year. Like similar to Oliver Goeth and Evan Lindler, the Red Bull drivers. Like they both were very good. I think Tim Tramnitz is kind of unlucky not to get promoted, seeing as Goeth finished in 7th, 2 places higher last season, and got the nod to go to MP Motorsport in Formula 2. So Tim will try to prove everyone wrong, say I should have got the nod to go up. I think he'll do that and come second and go up to F2 next year. Then first, I have James Wharton, the Australian with ART, who came second in Frecker last year. I think he'll beat out the rivals that he had, like Kamara, like Gusti, like Brando, like Ugo Chukwu, you know, these guys that did well in their Frecker last year. He's going to beat them, honestly. But that's just what I think, you know. It's honestly, it's all up in the air. This is such a difficult series to predict, even worse than F2, because there's so many more drivers who could finish anywhere between 30th and 1st. I think a lot of these guys would, like the cream will rise to the top in terms of like the top 10, but honestly, there could be some wacky ones in there. So let me know who you think is going to stand out, who's going to be one of the ones that I'm putting low, who's going to finish higher, and one of the drivers I'm putting in the top 10 maybe, who's not going to finish very well. Let me know down in the comments who you think that's going to be. Thanks for watching. As always, please subscribe. Peace.